What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Now this time I'm actually going to be talking about the stock market. So recently I've seen that a lot of people are panicking because they think that the world's going to end, the stock market is going to completely crash, there's going to be a correction. There's a lot of sort of anticipation that we're in a recession and things are just on the down, and especially here in the UK where there's a lot of negative media and news spreading at the moment, which is affecting the stock market. Now, the analogy that I was told when I was to start investing, and this was a few years ago, was that of a roller coaster. Now, they said that once you start investing, you jump onto the roller coaster. That roller coaster will go up, it'll go down, it'll go very high, where everyone gets excited, and there will be dips due to anything that's going on in the world, whether it be a pandemic or a war or whatever. It will go down. Now, that shouldn't really affect you, and the reason is that once you invest into the stock market, if the price goes down, yes, the value of your portfolio is down, but that doesn't really affect you until you actually sell your shares or you step off the roller coaster, as it were. So say you invested £10 into the stock market. Now the day after, that share that was worth £10 is now worth £1. Although your portfolio has lost £9, you haven't really lost £9 until you actually go and sell that share for £1, because that's what it's worth at the time. Again, if you bought a share for £10 and that goes up by £10, so that's now worth £20, yes, your portfolio is up by another £10, but you won't actually receive that benefit until you go and sell that share at double the price. Now, a lot of people do this. They do try and time the market. That is a very, very dangerous thing to do, because first and foremost, no one's got a crystal ball. No one knows what's going to happen in the stock market today or tomorrow, and we can only go with past data. We can see what it's been doing, but we can't see what it's going to be doing going forward. The other thing is that a lot of people, and that's just individual people like me and you, will try and time the market, and you need to remember that there are hedge fund managers and hedge funds and million and billion dollar companies out there that analyze tons and tons and tons of data to try and anticipate which way the market's going to go. So effectively, by timing the market, what you're saying is, me in my house and my mind and my feelings, I know a lot more than these million and billion dollar companies that invest a lot of time and money into anticipating what may happen in the market. Now, remember, their science isn't 100% correct either. No one knows, but all they can do is use a lot of different aspects and a lot of data from past, as well as news, as well as what's going on in the world, to anticipate what will happen with the stock price. And then based on that information, they may invest more into that, or actually start retracting some investments into that. So again, don't time the market. What is more important is timing the market. So time in the market is more important than timing the market. Now, what that means is invest as early as possible. The earlier you invest, the more time you have on the journey of investment. So a company that's worth £100 now won't be worth that much more in a year or 2 years time, but it will be worth considerably more in 30 or 40 years time by the time you retire. So invest as early as possible and regularly invest. Don't try and time the market, or don't try and panic sell. So if you see that the stock market is doing very, very well, that isn't a cue to start dumping more money into it. And equally, if you start seeing the market tumble, that doesn't mean that you start panic selling and taking money out of it. That's not how it works. You just invest regularly and switch off social media, switch off the internet, and just let it do its thing. Because the thing is, a lot of these companies, for example, Apple, Starbucks, all these guys, their worth, their value of their share, their value of their company isn't based on them thinking, yeah, we're worth this, we're very good. It's not based on a prayer, it's not based on a feeling. These guys make products and they sell those products and they make a profit. So That's what determines what they're worth, is the amount of R&D that they put in, amount of products that they make, a lot of insights, a lot of forecast of what they're doing. And again, make things that people want and sell it to people at a profit determines what their share price is, and the value of their company increases and increases. And the more money that they make, they just pump it back into their own company to innovate and try and do something better the next time, and they grow and they grow and they grow. So that's why it's important to start early, invest regularly, whether it be monthly, every monthly paycheck, just put a little bit into investment pot and then just leave it and let it grow. Don't listen to social media, don't listen to TikTok, don't listen to online financial gurus who tell you to do this or to do that, because first of all, they don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So it's best just to start investing as early as possible and invest for as long as possible, as well, until your retirement days, where you decide, you know what, I'm going to actually sell my portfolio and cash out. And no doubt at that time, a company that you invested in when you were in your early 20s is going to be worthless in your 60s or 70s. Of course, it'll be worth a lot more. Now, there will be companies that go bust in your lifetime as well, but that does not mean that you're going to lose money. It means that you'll lose a portion of your portfolio. That's why it's very important to have a diverse portfolio when investing. And if you think about it, there's always stuff going on in the world. There's always memes, there's always news that the world's going to come to an end and there's going to be a massive crash and we're going to be in a recession for years and years and years. And do you mean that all is just a feeling? It's very emotional. It's just what people think, and people put that out there, and a lot of people believe that stuff and then just start selling, thinking that the world's going to come to an end, they're going to lose a bunch of money, and whereas that's not the case. Now, the last big dip that we've seen was back in 2020, March 2020, when COVID was a big thing. It was a world global pandemic and share prices absolutely tumbled. Now, at the time, a lot of people thought we're never going to recover. This is the end of humanity. This is the end of the world, and just started selling and selling and selling. And that just caused the share market to completely dip. But in the same year, around about July, it picked up back again. So the important lesson is that when everyone's panic selling and shares go down and there's a big pandemic or whatever it may be, you don't sell, you actually buy. What I do is, when there's some sort of pandemic or something big going on in the world that's having a negative effect on my portfolio, and my portfolio is worth half what it was the day before, I try and grab as much money as I can from anywhere I can and heavily invest, because that portfolio and those shares will come bouncing back. There's no doubt about that. A company that's worth 100 billion might have its shares wiped off, but then these guys then work and innovate and try and rectify problems to try and get back to back to what their share price was. I mean, you can't just say that this company that's now was worth 100 billion is now worth 70 billion. It's never going to come back. It's just going to disappear and it's just going to end. That's not going to happen. A lot of these companies take on what's going on and they're prepared for these dips very well. So that's when they might cut back a bit of innovation. They might cut back on a bit of R&D, cut back on employment, but then eventually they will bounce back. Now, that actually brings me back to a very interesting story. Now, if we talk about Apple today, at this time of this video, is worth about $3.34 trillion. Now, that is a very expensive company. Now, back in 1976, when the three founders of Apple, that's Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and a guy named Ronald Wayne, these three guys worked for Atari at the time, and they decided to start a company and call it Apple. So they started the company, and around about 12 days later, Ronald Wayne got a bit of cold feet. He wasn't too happy. I don't know what information he received or what he heard, but he had a feeling that he wanted out. He didn't want anything to do with the company. He couldn't see the vision that Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs especially could see. So at the time, this is 12 days into actually signing the piece of paper, he decided to sell his 10% stake in Apple. And in 1976, he actually sold the stake for $800 which at the time might have been big money, but he essentially stepped off the roller coaster at the time. However, had he stayed on that roller coaster, his 10% share would be worth $334 billion today. Now compare that with the $800 that he sold it at. It just shows that don't time the market, don't take in a lot of negative news, especially on TikTok and social media, because they're not reliable sources. Yes, they will be reliable news sources that spreads about a company or a product which forces that company's share price to drop, but it will come bouncing back because they take into consideration why this negative news has spread and they take action to try and come back. They don't want to just be like, oh yeah, we made a mistake, yeah, let's just close the doors and go. So that's a great example of the story of Apple. And funnily enough, the piece of paper where those three co-founders of Apple signed, he actually sold that off in the 1990s for about $500. Again, don't know what he was thinking, because that, again, if you can see a company's worth, one of the biggest companies in the world, and you have that piece of paper, that's history right there. You know it's worth a lot more than that. But again, he sold that for $500 back in the 90s, and in 2011 it sold at auction for $1.6 million. Now that again was sort of a double blow for the guy. But again, it was just a short video just to give my take on the whole panic about the stock market. I invest a lot of my money into the stock market. I seen through COVID, at COVID my portfolio was worth sort of 25% of what it was worth the day before. So I lost sort of 75% during COVID. Did I panic sell? No, I didn't. I actually gathered as much money as I could and bought more stock because they're on sale. They're at a discount price. Why would you not? That's how you need to think about it. Put things on their head and invest more. And then by sort of July, August time, COVID was under control. Companies were coming off the red list and all the rest of it. And the share prices started climbing back up, and then they sort of reached record highs as well. So again, there was a lot of money that was made at that time. But my only few tips would be is to invest as early as possible and invest regularly, whether that's £100 from your paycheck going every month or £50, it doesn't matter, just invest, because no doubt what the investment that you're making now year on year will grow and grow and grow. And of course there will be some dips, but it will climb back up. But overall, generally, in about 30 or 40 or 50 years, when you actually decide to retire, that portfolio will be worth a lot more than you just putting that into a standard savings account and earning sort of 0.5% or 1% from it. And again, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I do hope you comment, I do hope you like and you subscribe to the channel, and it keeps me motivated to keep bringing you guys content. Thanks.